Thank you very much, Mr. President. I'd like to start off by giving you an example that I think is clear of how urgent this initiative is. We started working 6 months ago, exactly, in Parliament. If you're counting between the vote and starting on the report, more than 700,000 people in Europe will have developed Alzheimer or some other form of dementia in that time. That just shows how important and urgent it is to act. And that's the direction the Commission's communication goes in. People suffering from Alzheimer and other dementias in Europe need to be all treated equally. There are more than 7 million of them, nearly 10 million, who suffer in total from dementias. So this is a medium-sized country we're talking about. You can't discriminate against a country, you can't equally discriminate against all these patients. That's why it's urgent to intervene in research, for example. We know that the numbers are going to double every 20 years. If we're not careful, the rate will increase to double every 4 years, which is why we have to research the causes and discover the causes. Because that's the first step in research. So more research, more cooperation in research, more immunological research. We also need to look better to see how we can better organize prevention, how we can find risk assessors. We need to train carers. We need to help families. We need not to stigmatize the sick. All countries need to have national action plans that are compatible at European level. We need cooperation between and within member states. We can't allow there to be sick people of first class and second class. They must all be equal wherever they live and on any other criteria. And there is a great deal of hurry about this. We must have the best possible coverage of health services. And we can't evade talking about these things simply because we've got an economic crisis. The economic results of not treating this problem are going to be much greater, much worse than if we do face up to it now. That's why we have to invest in people, invest in prevention, support families, and support carers who are so often forgotten. For every person who suffers from Alzheimer's, there are 3 people who suffer at a second degree. A person who suffers from Alzheimer can't spend an hour alone. So we can't go on without some kind of cooperation and without a solidarity between the member states to deal with this kind of problem. Which is why, if we're talking about cooperation, we all know that this kind of work cannot be done on its own. So Parliament has to work in cooperation between all the parliamentary groups. And I was supported by 3 women in my parliamentary group, in my delegation, in my committee. And it's not perhaps an accident that only women were working on this, because women are the ones most affected. They're the ones who most often treat the sufferers, including when they're men. So there's a kind of hidden discrimination here. And in conclusion, I'd like to say, I'd like to address the Commissioner directly and ask him what proposals, which of the proposals in my report are you prepared to accept, and when are you going to accept them, and when are you going to accept the dimension and the urgency of the problem?